In the name of the Father, Yah, and of the Son, Yahweh Shai. Good morning. Shabbat Shalom. Can you hear me? Testing 1, 2, 3. Just make sure you can hear me. Good. Don't worry about that. All right. So let's start. Let's get started on the Bible study here. So yesterday we were looking at Isaiah chapter 41. We did the first 10 verses of Isaiah 41. We're going to continue in Isaiah 41 today. I want to just go over some recent history. There are people that who have a talent of being practical. When I say that, I mean they can see things as they are at the moment and make decisions and reactions based on the moment. And those people are obviously, that talent comes in handy. Good morning, Cornelius. That talent comes in handy. And then there are people, and this is more me, they look more at a big picture. I'm a big picture person. I like to see things in terms of what it is long term, what it means long term, and I get that. That's why I like to look at prophecy, because prophecy is looking at a big picture. That's what prophecy is. It's looking at what the future is in a big picture and how the right now fits in the big picture. That's what prophecy is about. And so with that in mind, I tend to look at things that way. And I'm looking at an overall big picture of what's going on with the Hebrews in the world, in the world history. So when I look at it like this, you look at it like this. Let's take a look at Deuteronomy chapter 28, which, we know Deuteronomy 28 is the blessings and the curses that show us who the true Hebrews are. The blessings and the curses that only fit one group of people. And so let's take a look at it. Deuteronomy chapter 28. Let's see. I'm going to begin at verse. Let's see. I'm going to begin at verse. There's so much here. I'm trying to decide where I should start. I'm going to start at verse 48. Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 48. I'm going to start at verse 48. And I'm going to read from verse 48 down to verse 52. From verse 48 down to verse 52. Actually, from verse 48 to 51 will do the trick in this particular case. So let's take a look at this. Deuteronomy chapter 28, from verse 48 to verse 51. Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which Yahweh shall send against thee, in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in want of all things. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee. Yahweh shall bring a nation against thee from far, from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth, a nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand, a nation of fierce countenance, which shall not regard the person of the old, nor show favor to the young. And he shall eat the fruit of thy carrot and the fruit of thy land until thou be destroyed, which also shall not leave thee either corn, wine, nor oil, and increase of kine, or flocks of thy sheep, until he have destroyed thee. So the Israelites were being told, in the curse that's upon them, they have a yoke of iron on their neck. They would serve their enemies. They would be in hunger, in thirst, in nakedness, and in want of all things. Now we know, again, I like this to point out that in Bible prophecy, The Bible never, it doesn't give you, for example, it doesn't say these people are going to be called Negroes in the future. It doesn't say that. Just like it doesn't use the word Catholic, right? It doesn't use the word Catholic. And yet, if you study prophecy, the Catholic Church is prominent. How do we know? Because it tells us, Daniel says there's 4 kingdoms. The 4th kingdom is Rome. It shows us in the 4th kingdom that's related to iron that 4th kingdom is going to be around all the way into the kingdom of the Messiah. It tells us that 4th kingdom is different. The one that's Rome is different from all the others in that a little horn rises up that's a religious power. So it's a pagan power and it's a religious power and it's based in Rome and it's worldwide in its influence. How many places, how many churches, how many institutions fit that description but the Roman Catholic Church? See, so that's what it does. It gives you all of these hints and then it tells you based on all the hints, there's only one situation that fits that description, okay? So again, with this, it's talking about a people that ended up with yokes of iron on their neck, that were sent to a country whose language they did not understand, that were in want of all things, okay? That has no regard for your young people or your old people. There's only one people that fit that description, okay? And if you want to take it further, it tells us these people were mistaken for ancient Egyptians and actually lived in Egypt and looked like the Egyptians. And then, of course, further, it says when they were taken into slavery, they went on ships. How many people fit that description? There's only one. See, that's how the Bible does it. You can't mistake it once you see all of the evidence. Okay? Can't mistake it. But the point here is we were placed in a situation, we being the Israelites, the true Israelites, who is the American Negro, and the Negro from the Caribbean islands, and the Negro that's in Brazil and South America and Central America, and the Negro that was in Mexico, and the Negro that's in Australia, and the Negro that's in India, and the Negro that's in Southeast Asia. There's Negroes in all those places. And these are your Israelites of the seed of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, especially. Okay? Now, we were brought to, I'm talking in terms of America because the United States of America plays a central role in the final events of this wicked world. Revelation 13 shows us that. It plays a central role in being the front person, the strong arm of Rome. Okay? And so it's a central role. So therefore, we use the United States in many of the examples we're talking about, although these examples cover Negroes worldwide. Okay? The United States brought the Israelite, and I'm not going to call us Negroes. You know who I'm talking about now that I've said it. So the United States brought the Israelite to the shores of the Americas in chains. Okay? And of course, the Israelites were also brought to Jamaica in chains, and to Haiti in chains, and to Cuba in chains. But we're talking about the United States, America, right? The United States of America. So they're brought in chains. Now, the Caucasian person, the son of Japhet, Gog and Magog, and that's what makes it clear for y'all. Gog and Magog are children of Noah's youngest son, Japhet. There was Shem, Ham, and Japhet. Gog and Magog and Ashkenaz and all your Europeans and your Jewish people are coming from Japhet, even though they try to claim that if you speak against them, you're anti-Semitic. It is a lie. It is a deception of Satan. They are not Semitic in any way. They have taken the religion of Edom, and they've converted to that. That's why you can call them Edomites. They're not Edomites by blood. So they're not Semitic. Anyway, these people brought us to this nation in chains. They brought us to this nation for the purpose of working as slaves. And see, there's different types of slavery. And let me just address all of these people that come out of the world. Irish people were in slavery too. First of all, Slavery as an institution existed since sin existed. There's been slaves. Generally speaking, most people will agree, people became slaves in ancient times either as a result of a conquest of one kingdom over another or as a result of debt. People were like, sometimes a man would owe another man money, and as a result of that, they give them their daughter or a son as a slave. But the slavery was limited. What do I mean by that? You can buy your way out of it when the debt was paid off by working. Or if you were taken over by another nation, you could also assimilate into that culture. I'll give you a couple of examples. There was a Hebrew maid that was a captive of Syria. And she was there when her master, Naaman, I think his name was Naaman, got leprosy. And she told him of a Hebrew prophet. And she sent, the man went to the Hebrew prophet and got healed of his leprosy. She was a captive slave in Syria. Okay. Then there was Uriah, the Hittite, who David had murdered for his wife. He was a Hittite. He was not an Israelite. He was a Hittite. But he became assimilated into the Israelite culture. We would call it today, he was grafted in. He was one of David's main men. He trusted David, and David, he was faithful to David's kingdom. And in fact, he was murdered by David, being faithful, just following orders. He became part of the Israelite culture. He was living in Jerusalem. Okay, that's where David saw his wife. So these are examples. You can become slaves in different ways, but it wasn't what they call chattel slavery. That's it. Chattel slavery became prominent when the Israelites became slaves. See, that they didn't do that before we became slaves. That's a different form of slavery. When you are an indentured slave, you can work or you can assimilate and become part of the culture, and you can gain freedom. In other words, it's possible for you or your future generations to gain freedom when you are an indentured slave. That's the Irish style. The Irish were indentured slaves. But when the Hebrews became slaves, it was chattel slavery. And what is chattel slavery? Let's describe it. The Bible describes it for us. Most people miss it, but it describes it for us in Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 68. Deuteronomy 28, 68. Notice what it says. Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 68. And Yahweh shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, by the way whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again. And there shall be, and wait, watch this part. And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you. See, you have to understand what that means. He says you're going to be sold, but no man will buy you. If you're looking at it in terms of simple buying and selling, it makes no sense. He said you shall be sold, but no man will buy you. What he's saying is you shall be sold into slavery, and you will never be redeemed. You cannot pay your way out of it. You're going to be slaves through your generations. That's chattel slavery. Chattel slavery, in order for the human being that's enslaving you to be able to do that, they have to not think of you as a human being. They have to think of you as a cow or as livestock or as one of their horses. They cannot think of you as a human being. They have to dehumanize you in order to be able to do it. Not only that, not only must they dehumanize you, it messes them up. It messes the slave owner up, because now the slave owner is confusing himself. You know why he's confusing himself? Because he can look at me and say, this is an animal. But then he can have sex with my wife and have children with my wife. So what is he doing? If I'm an animal, he's having sex with animals, right? And he's producing animal children, right? Because that's what they were doing. And they did this for centuries, literally centuries. So that they could mark down all of their property like they had their cattle and their horses, because they had to dehumanize us. So they messed their own head up in doing that. They messed themselves up. But that's not my point in bringing this up. Let me bring this up. I brought this up for this purpose. We came over here in chains around our neck. They never, that is the slave owners, the chattel slave owners, never intended that we should ever be free. That's what chattel slavery is about. They intended that we would forever have chains on our neck, forever. So how did the chains come off our neck? Did they just, and this is the mistake that Hebrews make in the United States. This is a mistake our fathers made in Egypt. Y'all need to wake up to this. Whenever we gain any rights, it's because the Creator gave them to us. It has nothing to do with the niceness or the fairness or the one of equality of our masters, of our captors. It has nothing to do with that. Y'all need to wake up to that. They don't consider us Americans. They only consider us Americans to keep us calm enough not to blow, put the whole place on fire like they're doing in Minneapolis, or like what happened in Watts, or like what happened in Newark in the 60s, or in Detroit. They don't want that. So they try to tell us we're Americans to keep us calm. And they take a few token of us and put us in positions of some wealth or power so that we can stay calm. That's to keep us calm. Because any rational human would see this and say, I'm going to kill all these people. That's rational. That's intelligent. You've seen them rape your women. You've seen them bring you and treat you as cattle. And all of a sudden you're going to turn around and say, you guys are so nice. You know what? Let's just let bygone. Can't we all just get along? No, that's not rational. I mean, any person would not think that way. And they know that. Believe me, the descendants of the owners of slaves that brought us here in chains, they know that. They're very well aware of that. Okay? So they brought us here in chains. How did we get the chains off our neck? At least partially, and that's because we still have chains on our neck. They still got brothers on chain gangs in prisons. They still got that. But a lot of us got the chains off our neck. How? The Civil War. Lincoln has said, and I'm not saying anything new, Lincoln did not want to free the Hebrews. He did not want to free the captives. He wanted to preserve the Union. That is, he wanted to preserve the nation. He wanted to keep the nation because they had, remember, those Caucasians that ran the country at that time had just come out of Europe. They were under the control of the Pope of Rome, and they were under the control of kings. They didn't want to go back in that control. They came over here, killed the Indians off, and they had assets. They had land, they had minerals, they were growing crops, they had cotton, sugar cane, tobacco. They was making big money, and they were sending that stuff to Europe to sell. Spain, France, the UK, Germany, they were buying our goods, and these Caucasian people were becoming wealthy. Okay, so they didn't want to lose that. So Lincoln didn't want to lose that. So he said, "Listen, what are we gonna do?" So the Creator boxed his behind in, and he had no choice but to free the Hebrews. He had no choice. That's the only way they could have won. So he promised us this, promised us that. Hebrews got them chains off their neck, took them guns, and was fighting them rebels, fighting them. And that's when they won the war. Now, the Civil War remains, even to this day, the bloodiest war that America has ever fought. More than 500,000 Americans died, over 500,000. And let me tell you, they weren't as populated as we are today. And 500,000 or more were killed in that war. It was the bloodiest war. They got spanked for putting them yokes on our neck. That's only phase one. They didn't learn the lesson because after the Civil War, there was Reconstruction, and it was nice. You know, we were getting, the Hebrews were getting positions and political positions and owning land during the Reconstruction. Why? Because they needed us to rebuild the place. Remember, I want to tell you something. They never like you. They don't think because they smiling at you, they like you. They're always using you. And you need to understand that all you got to do is look at the history, to look at the big picture. So they needed us to rebuild the place. So we rebuilt the place. After it was rebuilt, Reconstruction was over. And all of a sudden, Andrew Johnson became president. He was a racist, slave-owning redneck. And they started putting us back in slavery. How'd they do it? If you were walking the street the wrong way, if you owed $1 on your taxes, they were putting you in chains and you were in prison. They privatized the prisons, and they had us, while we were in prison, building up their railroads. They were always using and exploitation. That's the thing you got to understand. We're always being used and exploited. But the big picture is the Father took them chains off our neck by and large. Then they tried to put it back on, and then all of a sudden you had a Frederick Douglass rise up, you had a W.E.B. Du Bois rise up, you had a Marcus Garvey rise up, and we got a little bit more of those chains off. We still being oppressed now. Then came the Civil Rights Movement. Now, what did the Civil Rights Movement do? What happened? Let's look at the big picture. After World War II, the United States became the big winners of World War II. Remember now, America is prophesied to be able to have worldwide influence. It says it causes the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast. In order for it to cause the earth to do anything, it must have influence worldwide. And Revelation 13 says, it causes the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast whose deadly wound was healed, and said to them that dwell on the earth that they should make an image to the first beast who had the wound by a sword and did live. So the United States of America is worldwide in this influence. I don't got to convince anybody of that, because people are trying to break their neck to get here. Because why? Again, let's be real. The United States will go into a country like Nicaragua, fund a certain group to destroy the current government, and in Nicaragua's case, create crack cocaine there, take the crack, take it to the cities, sell it to the Hebrews, kill the Hebrews, and arrest them and make money on both sides. This is the way the game works. So they'll set, and then they'll put in a corrupt government that's working for the corrupt nation, and that corrupt government will rape and kill and maim and murder anybody in their country that don't follow them, so that them people are fleeing their own country to come here. And then we got the Caucasian man here saying, we don't want you to pass our borders. That's after our government went into their land and blew it up. They did this in Nicaragua. They did this in Chile. Huh? They did this in Angola. Not Angola, excuse me. Liberia, Ghana, South Africa. Caucasian did this in Australia. They've done it every place they've gone on the earth. Look at the big picture. Every place they've gone on the earth, they've done the same thing. Why? It's prophesied. Gog and Magog gonna rule in the end. That's where we at. Rome is Japhet. They're gonna rule at the end. That's prophecy. That's why. So now, civil rights movement comes. And what's going on? The United States is battling with the Soviet Union and China for supremacy on the earth politically. The United States wants to push democracy and oppress people. Russia wants to push communism and socialism and oppress people. So they're battling for the minds of the citizens of the earth. And so what Russia was doing, Russia was showing their citizens, African Americans or Hebrews, being hung by Americans. And they say, this is how capitalists treat their own citizens. That's what was going on. And it was costing America the minds of the earth. So for business reasons, they had to change that perception. So they came up with the civil rights movement. They think they were trying to show everybody how they were going to make the Hebrew free. What did we actually gain, though? Seriously, from the civil rights movement? Did we gain anything? Well, let's take a look at this. What's the brother's name? What's the brother's name that was just murdered this week? What was his name?
George Floyd.
Mr. Floyd is murdered in the street. Did anything change? Ahmaud Arbery was murdered last week or 2 weeks ago. Did anything change? We're still the highest percentage of people in prison, privatized prisons. Did anything change from the civil rights movement? No. You know what changed? No, what changed? You got a whole bunch of sellouts that are now mayors and Congress people, and they're getting paid six figures, sometimes more, to be figureheads, to let everybody think that something has changed. But on the street level, nothing has changed. Nothing. Oh, we can now go ahead and go into the stores like we couldn't go in and sit at a lunch counter before and eat a meal, right? Or we had to go in the back door to use the bathroom if they let us use the bathroom. But we can use the bathroom now. Okay. Oh, wow. We can actually use the same bathroom as a Caucasian. So people were bit in the groin by dogs. Women had their breasts torn off. Fire hoses. Little children in churches getting blown to bits so that we can pee in the same toilet. How that sound? Or we can take the money from a brother who had a little shop. Maybe he had a gas station or he sold sandwiches. Oh, now we can go run into downtown to the Caucasian and spend our money on them. Man, we done made it. That's what happened. They say we had a Voting Rights Act. Did we? Because now we still don't vote. Because why? Because there's nobody to vote for. Ain't nobody representing us. Y'all know that. And even if you think there might be a hope, they'll cut it off, they'll gerrymander the district, and your vote won't count. So that hasn't changed either. But brothers and sisters, we gained a little bit more freedom. And it's not because they're being nice to us. What I'm bringing out is the Bible says the path of the just is as the shining light that shineth more and more unto the perfect day. Let's break that down for a second. That's Proverbs 4:18 if you want to know where it is. But let's break that down for a second. When the day dawns, it doesn't dawn like that. It doesn't like all of a sudden it's dawn. It's dark, and then slowly the light comes, and then all of a sudden, as the light is getting lighter, the sun is rising and it's risen. And then once it's risen, it keeps rising until it gets to a peak, right? That it's a slope, it's a process. It's a process that goes, and it's the same thing. Each day is like that. And then, of course, the seasons change like that. So it starts all of a sudden, all the leaves are gone. It's dead. It's winter. It's dark. The days are short. And all of a sudden, you start to see buds come on the tree. Then all of a sudden, the days get a little longer, even without daylight savings time. The days get a little longer. And then the buds grow into leaves. And all of a sudden, you got trees with leaves on it again. And then it's warmer. And then all of a sudden, it gets warmer and warmer till you get to the summer and you got a new season. So seasons change gradually. Big picture. The Most High is slowly but surely breaking that yoke off our neck. And it's got nothing to do with the people that are our captives changing. It's got nothing to do with that. They have nothing to do with it. It's the Creator deciding it's time. That's the big picture. And the reason right now they're killing us is because they know the change is happening, and out of frustration, this is what they're doing. You understand? It's out of frustration, especially against the black male. Why? Because we have been the most abused. The most abused human being in the history of the United States of America has been the Hebrew male. I'm not saying the female hasn't been abused. There's no question about it. Rape is rape. And the sister's been through hell. There's no question. But the problem is not the sisters. Remember what Pharaoh said? If it's a woman, if it's a male, a female Hebrew, keep it alive. If it's a male, throw it in the river. And you know what? Historically speaking, even Israel, when Israel came into Canaan and was attacking the Canaanites and taking their land, what Moses say? Kill all the males. Because any country knows that if the males are allowed to come back, they're going to have retribution. Everybody knows that. So here, the captives of the Hebrews understand that if the males were to dominate and to grow and get on equal footing with them in any way, they are very concerned that they will be annihilated. And so as this change is taking place, and the change now is signified by our awakening. See, that scares them. And see, the awakening actually, when you want to look at it as a big picture, it started a while ago. It started way back in the 1800s as brothers started rebelling against what? The oppression. There's a lot of slave rebellions they don't even tell us about because they're afraid it would encourage us today. So they keep that out in the history book. But there was a lot of slave rebellions. They were unsuccessful because prophecy was against us. But the slave rebellion was taking place, and then brothers was always rebelling against this oppression. Like I said, W.E.B. Du Bois, Frederick Douglass, Marcus Garvey. It was never about us. See, they want y'all to think, y'all want to be equal with us. We want you to fight in this war. Prove you're an American. Prove you're not lazy. Go to work. Forget welfare. We'll cut you off from welfare. Go to work. Prove you're not lazy. We worked for 250 years for free. You know what? Most people today, they want paid time off. Why? Because they say we work hard all year. We should get some days off with pay. And we do. Well, what should the Hebrew get for working for 250 years? For free. For free. While this nation got wealthy off cotton and coffee and sugarcane and tobacco. What we should get? And cattle. What we should get for 250 years of helping them become fabulously wealthy. But anyway, it's all good. We're not getting our reparations from them. We're getting it from our Creator. So now the seasons are changing. The awakening is telling us the seasons are changing. And what our enemies tried to do in past times with our Marcus Garveys, with our Malcolm X's, with our Fred Hamptons, with our Huey Newtons, what they tried to do with our Martin Luther Kings is kill off the leaders and infiltrate the organizations and disband them. And they've been very successful in doing that. The problem they have now, as the seasons are changing, see, they don't understand. It's not their power that's going to stop us. It's the Creator's power. And they're frustrated by that. That's Asatan behind it. That's very frustrated. And he don't know what to do. He's mad about it. And he would like to right now put everything on lockdown and just kill us all. But the Most High is not allowing him to do that. Again, we go to Revelation chapter 7. And that's what we need to understand, which Isaiah 41 is going to tell us. It's got nothing to do with nobody else but the Creator. And it's got nothing to do with anything else but our obedience to our God. There's nothing nobody on earth can do when we are obedient to our God. So what does Asatan, our enemy, does? He infiltrates, he deceives, he's bringing as much confusion, Babel, as he can, because that would stop us, he thinks, from obtaining the blessing of our God. Because when our God is on our side, they have a problem. And there's not, see, it's like this. You know what we just read in Deuteronomy 28 when it said, you shall not be able to stand before your enemies. That word went off from the Creator. Therefore, no matter how many guns, no matter how many Black Panthers, no matter how many times Nat Turner goes in rebellion, prophecies against us, because he said you will not be able to stand before your enemy. Period. It's got nothing to do with them being stronger than us or more intelligent than us. This is what they think. This is the stuff they try to push, but that's not the case. Prophecy was against us. But when Yah is for us and he says, one of you shall chase 1,000, 10,000 shall fall at thy side, 1,000 at that, and it shall not come nigh you. That's when prophecy's on our side. There's nothing anybody could do about that. That word has gone forth. When he says, it shall come to pass when all these things come upon thee, the blessing and the curse which I have set before thee, and thou shalt call them to mind among all the nations where Yahweh thy Most High has scattered thee, and shall come back to Yahweh thy Most High, and keep his commandments, thou and thy children, with all thy heart, all thy soul, that then I'll turn your captivity. When he says, if my people, you Israelites, who are called by my name, Yah, shall humble themselves and pray, and seek my face, and turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and will heal their land. There's nothing nobody could do about that. It's going to happen. Okay? Nothing nobody could do. That's a train that's coming through and it cannot be stopped. So the awakening is taking place, and what you're seeing is the reaction of the enemy to that, because the enemy knows what I just said is true. He understands that. So he has to make you think that you can get justice from your enemies. He has to make you think that your enemies still have power over you. But I'm trying to tell you right now that yoke is being broken. And let's go over that, because that's what Isaiah 41 is getting ready to tell us. That yoke is being broken. The awakening of the Israelite is the death knell of Asatan and Gog and Magog. Let me say that again. The awakening of the Israelite is the death knell of Gog and Magog, and ultimately of Asatan himself. Our awakening is the trigger, the prophetic trigger that says to the Gog and Magog, your game is up. Because remember what Messiah said, before we go to Revelation, I'm going to stop by Luke chapter 21. We know what Messiah said in Luke chapter 21. Okay, Luke chapter 21. I'm going to begin at verse talking about the destruction of Jerusalem, which is a metaphor for what has happened to us all the way till now. Luke chapter 20, begin at verse 21 and go actually from verse 21 down to verse 24. Luke chapter 21, from verse 21 down to verse 24. Notice what it says. Then let them which are in Judea, Messiah is warning his followers, his Hebrew followers, of what to do when Jerusalem is going to be destroyed, because he's telling them it's going to be destroyed, okay? Then let them which are in Judea flee to the mountains, and let them which are in the midst of it depart out. Let not them that are in the countries enter thereinto. For these, watch what he says here, for these be days of vengeance. Vengeance. He talks about vengeance against his own people. These be days of vengeance, that all things which are written may be fulfilled. I'm talking about our captivity of Deuteronomy 28 and Leviticus chapter 26, right? And of course, Jeremiah also speaks of it much. But woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days, for there shall be great distress in the land, and wrath upon this people. That was wrath on our fathers, Israelites. Days of vengeance on us. Why? Because we were in covenant with the Creator and we worshiped other gods, gods of greed and wealth, and wood and stone, power on this earth. We worship that. And he said, these be days of vengeance. You broke the covenant with me, and I'm jealous. We get ready to fix this business. Okay? Verse 24. And they shall fall, talking about our fathers, they shall fall by the edge of the sword and shall be led away captive into all nations. That is, the true Israelites shall be fallen by the sword and led away captive, not that you voluntarily going somewhere. No, you're being enslaved into all nations. And Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles. That is destruction of Jerusalem by the Gentiles, until the times of the Gentiles are fulfilled. That's the key thing right there. Until the times of the Gentiles are fulfilled. And the awakening of the Israelites is the fulfillment of the times of the Gentiles. The awakening of the Israelites as to who they are, as to how they got where they are, as to repentance toward their God, is the times of the Gentiles being fulfilled. Sometimes, brothers and sisters, a person doesn't necessarily have to have an intelligent understanding of the prophecy to have an intuition that things are changing. Like, for example, a woman that's a faithful wife, she don't have to have evidence that her husband is cheating to know he's cheating. Testing 1, 2, 3. She can feel it. There's a change. She feels it. Oh, he might come home and say, oh, I had a business trip, or I'm hanging out with Joe and the fellas, and blah, blah, blah. And he might be in some other woman somewhere. And she may not have any proof. She don't have no receipts. She can't see no emails. She don't have no proof. She don't smell her on her man, but she knows something is wrong. Just so the Gentiles can feel their time is being fulfilled. That's why you're seeing anger. You're going to see more of it. The Bible does say the nations were angry and thy wrath is come, and the time of the dead that they should be judged. So it's all happening. They're getting more angry because, see, this is what pagan, and this is why the difference between an Israelite, when you're a true Israelite, and a pagan, no matter what color you are. Listen, even for Gentiles that are grafted in, pagans think they control everything. Let me say that again. Listen carefully now. Pagans think they control everything. And when they feel that they're not in control, it drives them crazy. Am I telling the truth or am I not? And some of you grafted in, you understand what I'm saying because it comes from your culture. They when they feel like they're not in control of something, man, you want to see some people get angry, you want to see some people get mad, you want to see some people trip out, let them think they're not in control. Hebrews understand Yah is in control of everything. He's in control of how many days you live on the earth. He's in control of where and when you are born. He's in control of everything, and we understand that. So therefore, things happen and we don't fight it all the time because we understand the Creator is in control. What are we going to do? But when you are pagan and you are used to thinking for many centuries and millennia that you've been in control and that you dominate stuff because you're just smarter than everybody and you're just stronger than everybody, when all the time the Creator just lets you have it, boy, you're going to get frustrated. You're going to see some frustration and anger on a high level. We're already seeing it because they're realizing now they don't control it anymore. What's going on? Let's break it down some more as we turn to Revelation chapter 7. Let's break it down some more. The birth rate among Caucasians in Europe and in the United States, this is documented by more than 5 or 6 or 7 or 10 people that study birth rates. Many of them say the same thing. European ones, economists, say the same thing. World leaders in the field say the same thing. Geneticists say the same thing. The Caucasian birth rate is below replacement level. What do I mean by that? In order for any group of people to continue existence, the scientists have come up with a number. They say that each woman must average 2.1 children. Now, you can't have 0.1 of a children, but it's just the average. So you basically got to have 2 to 3 children in order to sustain your race, to sustain your people. If you have less than that, you're going to be in trouble. So they say, okay, you need 2.1 to just maintain. If you drop below 1.9, there's no coming back. In other words, once you drop below 1.9, the trend is the opposite direction, and you're now headed toward extinction. The Caucasian, the European birth rate of people that are pure Europeans is like 1.6. In some cases, the United States is 1.1, 1.3. And some of them think, see, this is what happened. They created Planned Parenthood to kill Hebrews, to kill Hebrew male. That was the purpose of Planned Parenthood. But what happened? Your middle class women, Caucasian women that are making money now, because after they did that, that women's rights stuff, and they fought with their Caucasian male, because that's what the whole women's movement is about. I mean, they don't want to break it down like that, but let me just break it down for you. This is an argument between the white woman and the white man. That's what this whole women's liberation and women's right is about. Because black women ain't earn that much more. They just switch places with the black man. We're already still at the bottom. That ain't changed. Okay? So the Caucasian woman has an argument with the Caucasian man, and they turn it into a whole women's liberation movement. So the Caucasian woman now is able to gain some rights. She's able to become president. She's able to run corporations. She's able to be executives in high places, blah, 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 right? So she decided, you know what, man, I'm making money. I'm enjoying this. I don't want to have no children yet. I don't want it. I need to, my career, I need to become partner in my law firm. I need to get this bonus so I can become chief executive. And they're starting to do it. So they're having less babies. Then when they get 40, and that's generally what happens, they get around 40, and they say, dang, I'm making all the money I can make. I want a child now. And they're 40. So it's hard for them to have, and not only that, brothers and sisters, it's hard for any woman, I don't care what color you are, when you are under tremendous stress, which corporate America brings to you to have children. Very difficult. And when prophecy is against you, forget it. So they are now below replacement level. And you know what? The leaders of the government, see, quiet is kept. All this propaganda about Mexicans and so on and so forth, they're just trying to appease the Caucasians that are ignorant. But the people in the government understand. Do you realize that's why they there's a lot of Mexicans coming in this country. Why? Because their birth rates are higher. Their birth rates are higher. Why do you think the Chinese are running to Africa? And they're having babies with the Africans. Why? Because their birth rates in Africa are like 5, 4 something, 5 something. Some of them 7 something per woman. So their birth rates are way off the chart. So they mix it. Why do you think in the UK, you go to England, you'll see more people of Middle Eastern descent speaking with that British accent than you see almost Caucasian. Why? Because the birth rates of the Middle East people are higher. So they're bringing them in to be able to maintain their society. But the racist ones, the ones that think or still thinking that they're just superior, they have a big problem with that, but they're stupid because they don't understand your birth rate is not going anywhere. You're going to become extinct because prophecy is against them. And they feel it. They don't have to actually have an intellectual understanding that I just explained to you, but they can feel it. And that's why you're seeing a tremendous anger. They're ready to kill a brother at any time they can. It's a very difficult situation for them. I don't feel sorry for them, but it's a difficult situation. But the tide is changing. Okay, Revelation chapter 7. Revelation chapter 7. I'm going to begin. Now, this is the thing. I want to explain this because I've been noticing over the last couple of weeks that brothers been asking a lot of questions about the book of Revelation. Let me say this about the book of Revelation. The book of Revelation is the prophetic book for this time in which we are living. It's for the Hebrews for this time in which we're living. And the book of Revelation, it's like, again, a Christian might say, show me the verse where Jesus is black. Well, you can show the Revelation 1:14 and 15, but that's not enough. You got to be able to show Moses being mistaken for an Egyptian. You got to be able to show Paul being mistaken for an Egyptian. You got to be able to show how the Most High said about the nation of Israel, you remind me of Cush. You got to be able to show how Joseph married an Egyptian woman and had two tribes of Israel that are black, that is Ephraim and Manasseh, from this Egyptian woman. You got to be able to show a whole bunch of scripture, right? It's not just one verse, but that's the way Christianity teaches people. Show me the one verse. You know what I'm saying? So with the book of Revelation, you need a holistic view. You got, because the book of Revelation actually draws in all the prophets. You can see all the prophets there. Zechariah's in Revelation, Jeremiah, Isaiah, Ezekiel. They're all in Revelation. And of course, Daniel's in Revelation. So the prophets are all drawn in the book of Revelation. And not only that, the covenant, the Torah is in Revelation, obviously because of the law. Not only that, because the whole book of Revelation, which most people don't get, is based in the sanctuary. And most people don't see it. The whole thing is based in the heavenly sanctuary. All right. So that just to give you a glimpse. So there's a rhythm to the book of Revelation. There's 7 churches, there's 7 seals, and there's 7 trumpets. And let me just give you a hint right now. They go together. They run in the same rhythm. The first church with the first seal, with the first trumpet, and so on and so on, till you get to the 7th church, the 7th seal, the 7th trumpet. They roll together. And you have to understand that. They're not like, 21 different time periods. There's 7 time periods, and they roll together. And it's showing you those time periods from different angles. It's like if you're a player in a play, right? If you ever see a movie where there's 2 or 3 people in the movie, and the movie will show an event that's taking place from each person's point of view. You ever see a movie like that? So those are some of my favorite movies because it makes you think. So, but you see a movie, you see John and Jane and Sarah. And so first they'll show the movie from John's perspective. Then they show it from Jane's perspective. Then they show it from Sarah's perspective. Then they'll show you how it all comes together at the end. Revelation is like that. The 7 seals, the 7 churches, the 7 trumpets are showing you perspective of different players of historical events surrounding the Israelite people. Okay. So in Revelation chapter 7, what people don't understand is Revelation chapter 7 in its entirety takes place under the 6th seal. Because the 6th seal actually starts in Revelation chapter 6. So people don't see that, especially when you see the word chapter 7 there. People think, oh, this is a different thing. No. It's all under the 6th seal. Just like the 2 witnesses of Revelation 11 and the events of Revelation 10 are all under the 6th trumpet. See, most people don't see it. So when you're looking at Revelation chapter 9, which begins the 6th trumpet, it goes all the way through till you get to Revelation chapter 11, verse 15. That's when the 7th trumpet. So everything else is in the 6th trumpet. You got to look at it as a holistic thing under the 6th trumpet, and you got to compare that trumpet to the 6th seal and the 6th church to understand what's happening. And then, of course, you compare all of that to the prophets. See, I just gave you a little glimpse of studying the book of Revelation. Okay. So you can't just look at one verse or one situation and think you understand. And that's what, unfortunately, a lot of people do. It's not complicated. It's rhythmic. And I ain't got to tell you the correlation between the Hebrews and, wait a minute, do I have to talk to you about the correlation between the Hebrews and rhythm? Do I really? The people that created jazz, people that created rap, the people that created all kind of music, do I got to really tell you the correlation between them and rhythm? No. So that's why you have to understand the rhythm of the book. And when you feel that, when you see it, it's not complicated. But see, you can't just run off with it, verse and this and that. You understand what I'm saying? So, okay. So here in Revelation chapter 7, so with that understanding, I'm going to bring us back to chapter 6, because that's where the sixth seal starts. And it flows into what's called chapter 7. All right. And it helps you understand what's going on here. And it helps you understand how the Father, see, many people want to know, oh, what does God think about that? Or what does God think about this? Or what would Jesus do? They really don't want to know. But anyway, this here shows you what the Father is thinking and how he's feeling. It tells you. Most people don't see it because, like I said, they don't know how to study the book of Revelation. But I'm giving you a little glimpse right here. See, we did the last study we did on the book of Revelation was 56 videos. 56 videos for the book of Revelation. Took several months. I think we did it. We tried to do it every year. We didn't do it last year. I think it was in 2018 was the last Revelation study we did. I'm going to do it again by the grace of the Most High at some point. I can't tell you when. I know what I want to do Jeremiah next. I want to do Daniel, and then after that probably Revelation. But it may go into 2021 if by the grace of the Most High. But it's not something you just do in a couple of weeks. It's deep. It's very deep. It's not complicated, but it's deep. It's thorough. And when you end up seeing it, everything becomes clear. There's nothing surprising you. And that's the purpose of prophecy, brothers and sisters. It's telling Yah's people what's going to happen before it happens so that we're not surprised and we understand what's coming. That's what he's trying to do. He wants us to understand what's coming. Remember, that's what Revelation says about itself, the revelation of Jesus Christ, which God or the Father gave to him to show unto who? His servants, things which must shortly come to pass. That's what Revelation is. That's what prophecy is. Father giving something to Messiah who gives it to his servants to show his servants what's getting ready to happen. So that we're not surprised. He don't want us to be surprised. Messiah comes as a thief to the heathen. He don't come as a thief to the Israelites. That's what a lot of people get come. He don't come as a thief to us. We know he's going to come. He's going to show us when he's coming. In fact, he's already given us, since we know he's coming in the autumn of some year, in the next 10 to 12 years, in the autumn, at the time of the Feast of Tabernacles is when Messiah is going to return. We know that from the scriptures. I ain't going to go into it now, but the scriptures have told us that. He's coming in the autumn. And he's coming in the autumn very shortly. Not that many years from now. Okay? During the Feast of Tabernacles, that's when we're going to be delivered. Okay? And he's showing us. As to the year, we don't know yet. But as time goes on, the path of the just, shining light, shining more and more in perfect day, he'll let us know. We're on an as-needed basis with our Father. But he will let us know. It might be 2 weeks before, but he's going to tell us. Okay? He's going to show us. Because Messiah is going to know and Messiah is going to reveal to us. But everything the Father shows Messiah turned around and showed us. Okay? Revelation chapter 6. I'm going to start at verse 12 where the sixth seal is being peeled off the book. Okay? Revelation chapter 6. I'm going to start from verse 12 and read down to verse 17. And then I'm going to pause and go into chapter 7. Okay? Because it's all one. This is all under the sixth seal. And I beheld when he had opened the sixth seal, and lo, there was a great earthquake. And the sun became black as sackcloth of hair. And the moon became as blood. And the stars of heaven fell unto the earth, even as a fig tree casteth her untimely figs when she is shaken of a mighty wind. And the heaven departed as a scroll when it is rolled together, and every mountain and island were moved out of their places. And the kings of the earth, and the great men, and the rich men, and the chief captains, and the mighty men, and every bondman, and every freedman hid themselves in the dens and in the rocks of the mountains, and said to the mountains and rocks, fall on us and hide us from the face of him that sitteth on the throne and from the wrath of the Lamb. For the great day of his wrath is come, and who shall be able to stand? So, brothers and sisters, what we are reading the description of is the return of Messiah with the Father and the reaction of the heathen to that return. Okay? See, they're reacting, they're running, they're scared. It's a powerful sight because Messiah is coming with vengeance. He's going to make war with them. Okay? And they can see it, and there's a problem. And they're running. Now, they're going to run for a while. They're going to regroup, and just like the Egyptians did. Egyptians say, oh, please get out of our land. Take whatever you want. Just get out of here. And then when we left, they regroup and they say, wait, what we just do? And they tried to come back and attack us, right? Remember that? Heathen going to run. They're going to be scared. Please hide us from his face until then he's going to settle in Jerusalem, crush them Edomites out, resurrect us, and we're going to be in that kingdom. They're going to see that, and they're going to say, wait. We can't let that you can't let them get away with that. We God and Magog. We control everything. And they're going to come and try to take it. And that's when they're going to be destroyed. But that's another story. It's describing the return of Messiah right here. And the question was asked at the end, purposely asked, I might add, who shall be able to stand? In other words, who will survive? Who will the Creator choose to be in this kingdom? Who's going to be able to stand before Messiah successfully and inhabit this eternal kingdom? Who shall be able to stand? That's the question. Revelation chapter 7 answers the question. And it also shows us how Father feels about all of this. Oh, yes. Most people do not pick it up because, again, they're used to looking at Scripture as an island, all unto itself. But you don't have to look at it like that. In fact, you shouldn't. It's, we're here a little, there a little, we understand. So being that we understand that the Father has already declared that when his people awaken and turn back to him, I've already shared with you 2 Chronicles chapter 7. I've already shared with you Deuteronomy chapter 30. Father wants to redeem his people. He wants to bring them back to the land, right? Jeremiah 23, verse 8. He's going to bring us back to our own land with the Messiah. He's already shared. This is what he wants to do. Watch this now. How anxious is he to get this done? Revelation chapter 7. Let's start at verse 1. And after these things, I saw 4 angels standing on the 4 corners of the earth, holding the 4 winds of the earth, that the wind should not blow on the earth, nor on the sea, nor on any tree. Wind. Wind is given in 2 separate symbols. It can be destruction, destructive winds, or Father's Spirit, a wind. Messiah said, wind blow where it listed. You don't know where it's coming from, where it's going. So everyone born of the Spirit. When the apostles, 120 upper room, a mighty wind come through, and they were all filled with the Spirit. Let me tell you, some people, well, which is it? It's both. To the righteous is Father's Spirit. To the wicked is destruction. You got to understand it. See, what's a curse to the wicked is not a curse to us. It's a blessing to us. What's a blessing to us is a curse to the wicked. Let me give you an example. Slavery, a curse to the Hebrew, a blessing to the wicked. We got poor. They got rich. We became the tail. They became the head. When it flips, the oppressor will become the oppressed. And the one that was oppressed will become the wealthy one. So the winds are destructive to the wicked, Spirit-filled for the righteous. But these winds are to be blown on the earth, so it's destructive to the earth. Okay? So there were 4 angels, north, south, east, and west. 4. Standing on the 4 corners, north, south, east, and west. And they were holding back winds that would bring destruction to the earth. Complete annihilation. They were holding them back. Why? They were holding them back at a time that the Bible describes the return of the Messiah. What's the holdup? And why is the holdup? Revelation chapter 7, verse 2 and 3. Revelation chapter 7, verse 2 and 3. And I saw another angel ascending from the east, having the seal of the living Most High. And he cried with a loud voice to the four angels to whom it was given to hurt, there's confirmation, to hurt the earth and the sea. See, these winds that they're holding back are designed to hurt the earth. And this angel is crying to them. He's going to say something to them. Obviously, this angel is coming from the Most High because he has in his hand the seal of the Father. He has Father's seal in his hand. And so he has this seal, this picture of seal that you use to seal documents. He has this seal and he's telling the four angels something with a loud voice. It's a command from the Father. So he's holding this seal of Yah in his hand and he's saying something to the four angels that are holding this picture. I'm trying to draw the scene up for you. So he's saying something to the four angels that are designed to let loose winds to destroy the earth. He's telling them something. What is he saying? Verse 3, saying, hurt not the earth, neither the sea nor the trees, till we have sealed the servants of our God in their foreheads. So he has, obviously, the purpose of the seal that the angel is carrying is to seal the servants of Yah. And he's telling the four angels, don't let loose those winds until we have had a chance to seal our servants. But I want you to notice something very important in verse 2. It says, and I saw another angel ascending from the east. When you're ascending, you are going up. When you are descending, you are going down. I want you to make sure you understand that. So this angel has the seal. He's rising and he's rising with the seal. And as he's rising, he's telling the four angels, hold those winds until we have a chance to seal Yah's servants. So he's leaving with the seal. He's not sealing the servants. And he's telling the angels, wait until the destruction of earth until we seal them. We just talked about the wind also being Father's spirit. So let us put the wind or put Father's spirit on these servants before we let the winds come and destroy the rest of the thing. And he's ascending. He's taking the seal with him. Which means what? He came down to place a seal on the servants. The servants were not ready for the seal. Therefore, he went back up with the seal, and on his way back, he says, hold the winds. See what I'm saying? He came down with a purpose. Father sent him with a purpose. He came down from Father's command to seal the servants, the Israelite servants. They weren't prepared, so Father brings them back. So let me stop right here. Our God knows everything. He knows the beginning and he knows the end. Testing 1, 2, 3. He knows everything. There's nothing that is going to happen that he has not known from before the foundation of the planet. He is the Alpha and Omega, the beginning and end. He's in the beginning and he's at the end and he's here at the same time. He goes beyond dimension. He is the creator of dimension. Okay? So he didn't accidentally send this angel with a purpose, understanding that servants weren't going to be ready in order to have the angel come back without sealing them. Why did he do it then? He's expressing to you and me, he's done. He's ready for this to be finished. He's anxious that it should be done. If Father can be anxious at all. And he's telling us there's only one thing stopping me from finishing it. That's the seal of my servants. That's all. It's not no, as the SDAs would say, it's not no national Sunday law. As Judaism says, it's not the first coming of the Messiah. The thing that's holding everything up right now is the seal on Yah's servants. That's what he's illustrating that. He's telling us the only thing stopping me from doing what I'm going to do is the seal. Somebody might say, well, what about all the other events that need to take place? Once the servants are sealed, see, you're already seeing. See, I love where we are in history, because I ain't got to predict anything. You're seeing it right in front of you. So talk to me. Are you not seeing how fast months and years are going by? You think it's your imagination that days are flying by one after another? So you got to think about what day it is because it's going by so fast. That's not accidental. Father's racing this thing along. I know some fools say 24 hours, 24 hours. Anybody that's really paying attention that wants to be honest understands. Even though 24 hours is 24 hours, you and I know it's going by fast. It's going by fast. And Father's doing that because he wants this thing to end. And the awakening is a sign that this sealing is taking place right now. It's already taking place. Okay, let's read one more verse. Verse 4. And I heard the number of them which were sealed, and there were sealed 144,000 of all the tribes of the children of Israel. You see, when he said I heard, he didn't see. Why? Because at the time when that angel came down, they didn't exist. That's why they weren't sealed. It wasn't that they were sitting there not ready. They didn't exist yet. They were to come. I heard the number of them that were sealed. In other words, there are these people I heard were coming. They're coming. They're not here yet. They're coming. Because at the time here, I tell you, this happened in 1844. So he came down in 1844. His servants weren't sealed. They weren't even on the scene yet. You know why? Because here we are in 2020. Here we are in 2020. 176 years later. That's why he heard them. He didn't see them yet. He heard them. That's why. And Father's letting the world know in terms of us studying prophecy. That's the only thing I need right now. That's the only thing I'm working on. See, everybody's looking at what the Pope is doing, what the government is doing, and all of these things happening in the earth. That's distractions. All we need to pay attention to is one thing: the seal. That's why I'm constantly talking to you about righteousness, the spirit of Father's righteousness, because that constitutes the seal. And once the seal takes place, it's over. See, I don't care how angry Asatan is and how angry his Caucasian people are getting, Gog and Magog. That don't matter. Once the seal takes place, once the seal happens, it's over. And as we did not have power to stand before our enemies under the curse, they will not have power to stand before us in the blessing. Are you hearing me? Are you hearing me? Okay. Now I want to show you one more thing now. He heard them in Revelation chapter 7 because they weren't existing yet. Watch this though. Revelation chapter 14. Now I'm going to give you another little tidbit about Revelation right here. Revelation 14 follows Revelation chapter 13 and follows Revelation chapter 15 in this regard. And each time in the beginning of the chapter, you're seeing the end result of something. And the rest of the following words after that end result is showing you how they got to that end result. So in chapter 13, you see a beast with 10 horns and 7 heads, and it's got crowns on its horns. Crown meaning they're kings or big time leaders. The rest of 13 is showing you how they got to that point. Here we are in 14, and whereas he heard the 144,000, the number of them in Revelation 7, he sees them in Revelation 14. Look, Revelation chapter 14. Look at I'm going to read from verse 1. Actually, all we need is verse 1. Revelation, actually from verse 1 to 3, just for context. Revelation 14 from 1 to 3, but verse 1 is telling us everything we need to know. And I looked. That's how it starts. And I looked, and lo, a lamb stood on the Mount Zion, and with him 144,000, having his Father's name written in their foreheads. That is the name of the Father. The name of the Father, righteous, holy, and truth. Written in the forehead. The seal. That's the wind. Seal the law among my disciples. Messiah said, Isaiah chapter 8. Bind up the testimony. Seal the law among my disciples. And I heard a voice from heaven, as the voice of many waters, and as the voice of great thunder. And I heard the voice of harpers harping with their harps. And they sung, as it were, a new song before the throne and before the four beasts and the elders. And no man could learn that song but the 144,000 which were redeemed from the earth. I looked. So now in Revelation 14, they're standing on Mount Zion with Messiah. Rest of 14 and 15 going to show you how they got there. Okay, going to show you what happened to get them there. When we stand on Mount Zion with Messiah, it's over, right? The kingdom is that we in the kingdom, right? And 7, he heard. Wasn't time yet because the angels going back to heaven with the seal because they didn't exist yet. But the Father's letting us know, I'm ready for this to end, man. That only thing stopping me from ending it right now is sealing my servants that I'm going to seal. That's the only thing stopping me. See? Once I get that done, it's over. And brothers and sisters, it doesn't matter what our enemies say. It doesn't matter what our enemies do. It doesn't matter what they're planning. All that don't matter. When one team is superior to the other team, right? When you have a dominant team in sports, it don't matter what the other team does. It doesn't matter what they do. There's nothing they can do because the other team is just dominant. What are they going to do? Break the legs of the other players before they come out the locker room? I mean, that's all they could do when one team is dominant. And the Messiah and the Father is dominant. And when they decide you can't stand before your enemies, no matter what we do, we're not going to be able to stand before our enemies. We get strung up from trees. We get raped and robbed. We get used, abused, oppressed, exploited. That's what he said. But when we awaken and we receive the Father's Spirit and we go to keep his commandments, statutes, and judgments, and we are understanding who we are, there's nothing nobody can do about it. And so Asatan's tricks are old. What did he try to do? He offers some of us to sell out. You want money? Judas, here. You want money, Balaam? Let me give you some money. Sell out. I need you to curse this people. That's what he does. Or he distracts you with confusion. These really are Israelites. These people on the corner talking about killing everybody are Israelites. These people in New Jersey were Israelites that killed the Ashkenazis. And the man that was Israelite went into their house upstate New York and stabbed them all. That's distraction and confusion. We need to be focused. We need to focus. The only thing that's important is that we receive Father's Spirit and his seal. That's all that matters. Once we get that, there's nothing anyone can do to stop us. The tide is already changing. Father is showing us it's changing. There's nothing anyone could do. That's why the people that are our enemies are getting frustratingly angry. See, the Klan used to just wear white sheets on their heads, right? Now they're joining police forces and getting badges and guns. That's what's going on. Why do you think the Caucasian man that killed Mr. Floyd has a history of aggression against black males? He has a history. It's recorded. And that Caucasian slime bag, Amy Klobuchar, she knew about him when she was Attorney General of the state of Minnesota. She knew about him. And she knew what he was doing. And she used the murder of a young black girl to put an innocent boy in jail for life. And then try to make a name for herself on it. That's how bad this is getting, brothers and sisters. Listen, they don't like us. They never will. Don't think they will because they smile at you. The only people that are Caucasian that are on our side are those that are of the truth. I'm just being honest with you. When somebody's of the truth, they're recognizing who the true Hebrews are. They're recognizing who the Messiah is. They're recognizing where the law comes from. They're recognizing who's going to have this kingdom. Those are on our side. The rest of them you can't trust. Now, some of them are ignorant. And I agree. There's some good-hearted Caucasians that are just ignorant. But that's a minority. That's a minority. In my whole almost 60 years on this planet, I can count on one hand how many ignorant and sincere Caucasians I have met that are, and I'm talking about people not in the truth. Now, there's some Caucasians that are in this truth. That's them are our brothers and sisters. That's different. Okay? But I'm talking about people that are just genuine, got a heart that wants to do the right thing, just don't know what the right thing is. I've only met about 5 of them, maybe less. my whole life. Most of them got an agenda. They're just trying to keep you calm. They just don't want you to be angry because they know it's there. And they try to act like you have a problem because you're angry. No, you don't have a problem. Your anger is natural. You know what? When your people have been 400 years of rape, robbed, killed, oppressed, and exploited, you're going to be angry. That's a natural reaction. So they say, please don't be angry. And anytime you start speaking in terms of what I'm talking about now, the overthrow of their whole world, what they're going to say, that sounds violent. You're violent. The most violent people in the history of planet Earth are Gog and Magog. The most violent people in the history of planet Earth are Gog and Magog. And isn't that just like Asatan? He has an attribute and he tries to point at somebody else and say, that's them. Like Asatan's the biggest liar. He's the father of lies, yet he'll call somebody else a liar that's telling the truth. See, his people call Messiah a liar. Messiah, the son of the Father, who can't lie. He's calling him a liar. Asatan told Eve the Father was lying to you because he knows you could be a God. So that's the attribute. So the people that created the most violence, the most oppressive, the most exploitative, they're going to tell you and me when we start to awaken, oh, you're being violent. Malcolm X never strung anybody up, yet all the press at that time in America was saying he was violent. He was violent. You never saw Malcolm X shoot anybody. He never hit anybody. He didn't even carry a gun until the end when they were threatening his family and they blew up his house. He got guns. As you and I would too. But now they're talking about violence because you know what? They're scared. Now look, before we go to Isaiah, we're going to do this in two parts. I'm just letting you know. I'm going to go to Isaiah, right? Because we talked about this. In fact, let's go back to Deuteronomy for a second. Okay? Deuteronomy 28 for a second. Let's go back to Deuteronomy 28:48 for a second, where we read earlier. Deuteronomy 28:48. Deuteronomy 28:48 says, therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which Yahweh shall send against thee in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in want of all things. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee. So he says, a yoke of iron will be on our neck. And literally, we had yoke of iron on our neck. Not only that, we've been under their yoke, the yoke of our enemies, for a couple thousand years, ever since Jerusalem was destroyed. I mean, in America, we talk about 400 years, but in terms of the big picture, we've had a yoke under our neck as Hebrews from the time we fled from Jerusalem in AD 70. We've had a yoke on our neck. Every place we've gone, we've had a yoke on our neck. Okay? I don't care what these brothers talking about that King James was black. As a people, we had a yoke on our neck for 2,000 years. Now, what does the Bible say about that for these days in which we are living now? Isaiah chapter 10, which you've already read, and I love the verse though. Isaiah chapter 10. Isaiah chapter 10. I'm going to look at Isaiah chapter 10, and we're going to read Isaiah chapter 10. Yes, Isaiah chapter 10. I'm going to read from verse 24. I'm reading from verse 24 to verse 27. Isaiah chapter 10, from 24 to 27. Isaiah 10. Remember, we have a yoke on our neck, both of iron and figuratively. We've been yoked down. You see, when you're yoked, that means you have something on your neck that's two cattle generally that are connected by a piece of wood, and they're being used to do work. Okay, they're being used to do work, and they're under control of the person that controls the yoke. That's what puts they got stuff on their neck, and they can't go nowhere unless the person that's controlling it, right? But notice again, Isaiah chapter 10 from verse 24 to 27. Notice what it says here. This is talking about what's happening right now. Okay. Therefore, thus saith the Most High Yahweh of hosts, O my people that dwelleth in Zion, be not afraid of the Assyrian. He shall smite thee with a rod, and shall lift up his staff against thee after the manner of Egypt. For yet a very little while, and the indignation shall cease, and mine anger and their destruction. And Yahweh of hosts shall stir up a scourge for him, according to the slaughter of Midian at the rock of Oreb. And as his rod was upon the sea, so shall he lift it up after the manner of Egypt. Verse 27. And it shall come to pass that his burden shall be taken away from off thy shoulder, and his yoke from off thy neck. And the yoke shall be destroyed because of the anointing. Ties it all up, doesn't it? We've been talking about the seal of Father's Spirit. It's going to break our enemy's yoke from off our neck. You see why I say the only thing that matters right now is righteousness by the Father's Spirit. That's the only thing that matters, because he's by that Spirit, that yoke that's on our neck is going to be broken. And the tide is changing and the yoke is cracking. It's about to be snapped. One more witness before we go to Isaiah 41 with this. One more witness. That's Jeremiah chapter 30. Jeremiah chapter 30. Notice what it says. Jeremiah chapter 30. One more witness. Jeremiah chapter 30. I'm going to start at verse 4. And I'm going to start at verse 4. And I'm going to go down from verse 4 to verse 8. Verse 9. From 4 to 9. Jeremiah chapter 30, from verse 4 to verse 9. Watch this, same thing. Notice again. And these are the words which Yahweh spake concerning Israel and Judah. Concerning Israel and Judah. Israel and Judah. Okay? For thus saith Yahweh, we have heard a voice of trembling, of fear, and not of peace. Ask ye now and see whether a man doth travail in child. With child. Wherefore do I see every man with hands on his loins as a woman in travail, and all faces are turned into paleness. Alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. For it shall come to pass in that day, saith Yahweh of hosts, that I will do what? I will break his yoke from off thy neck, and will burst thy bonds, and strangers shall no more serve themselves of him. But they shall serve Yahweh their Most High, and David their King, whom I will raise up unto them. You see again, with the awakening and the outpouring of Father's Spirit and his seal on us, there's nothing our enemies can do. So they're going to get more frustrated. They're going to get more violent. You're going to see more and more of that frustration and violence and anger. That's going to be in the air. It's going to become more and more thicker. And that's why, brothers and sisters, another thing is our safety is in the Spirit of the Father. When we're outside the Spirit of the Father, when we're ignorant of the truth, we're exposed to the anger and violence that our enemies are doing against us. We're exposed. Just like yesterday, I told you I was standing there when these 4 Caucasian boys were beating up this brother. I don't know if they knew him or what the situation was. It appeared that they knew him. And I said, hey, like that. And they all stopped. The only reason they didn't come after me is because the Father was protecting me. That's why they didn't come after me. Because one of them was getting up off him, saying, mind your business. But they kept getting up off the brother and walking away. That's why they said, mind your business. And I just stood there. See? Because the Father was protecting me that time. Because the yoke is coming off. But see, the brother was getting beat up because he was not under the protection. As we awaken to this truth, our Father becomes our protection. Which is why we need to keep teaching it and preaching it so that the remnant can receive it. Because it's not only for our salvation, the breaking of the yoke, which is the most important thing, it's our protection against our enemies who are getting angrier and angrier, and they will become more and more violent. As they're concerned with us awakened people becoming violent, they are the most violent ones. Isn't that amazing? As we're awakening, somebody's going to look at this and say, this brother's preaching violence. This man is preaching violence and hatred. while our brothers are getting shot in the street. I ain't shooting nobody. Malcolm X ain't shooting nobody. Fred Hampton ain't shooting nobody. But they were shot, violently killed. Isn't that amazing? Isaiah 41. We're going to read a few verses and then we're going to take a break of Isaiah 41, but y'all got the backdrop. Isaiah 41. Watch this. Isaiah 41, beginning at verse 10, where we ended up last week. And again, this is showing us the breaking of the yoke, is also showing us that when the Father decides to free us, there's nothing anyone can do. It's only up to us to surrender to the Father. Surrender to the truth. So let me break it down even further before we read these verses here. Very simple. The more we surrender to the Father in heaven, to his word, to his spirit, I mean surrender so that we are given over to give him the glory. We're given over to live for him or die for him. We're given over for the Father's glory. Because remember, that's the reason he's delivering us. He's not delivering us because we're just nice people. He's delivering us because of his promise to Abraham for his own glory. And so as we seek to live for the glory, and that's a good thing because Father is nothing but righteousness and truth. So when we live for righteousness and truth, when we live for his spirit, he's going to protect us and there's nothing our enemies can do. So that the decision becomes ours now. Do you want to live for your Father? Are you willing to give up all your desires of this earth to decide to live for your Father? And when I say that, I'm not telling you to put on a funny costume or join no church. I'm telling you to decide in your conscious mind, I'm going to keep his commandment. I want to obey him. I want his spirit to seal me. I want to walk in his spirit. I want that glow on my face that Moses got with his righteousness. I want to be among the 144,000. It's a desire we can all have. Most people don't even know they exist. That's how far ahead we are. We know they exist and they're being sealed right now. Most people not even aware. And much less, even less care. Especially people in these denominations. They're only concerned with their denominations, their Christianity, their Judaism, their Islam. They don't know nothing about this 144,000 being sealed, nor do they care. We're at advantage. Isaiah 41, beginning at verse 10. Fear thou not, for I am with thee. Be not dismayed, for I am thy most high. I will strengthen thee, yea, I will help thee, yea, I will uphold thee by the right hand of my righteousness. We finished off with that last night. Let's go further. I'm going to go from verse 11, and I'm going to go down to verse 17. Notice what it says. Thou shalt seek them and shalt not find, behold, all they that were incensed against thee, that are our enemies, our oppressors, all they that were incensed against thee, those violent and angry ones, all they that were incensed against thee shall be ashamed and confounded. This is the prophetic word. All they that were incensed against thee shall be ashamed and confounded. They shall be as nothing. This is prophetic word from the Father. I ain't making this up. I'm reading it. And they that strive with thee shall perish. They that strive with thee shall perish. The murderers of Mr. Floyd, the murderers of Aubrey, the murderers of all the black male Hebrews in this country, they're going to what? Perish. Thou shalt seek them and shall not find them. Even them that contended with thee, they that war against thee shall be as nothing and as a thing of naught. For I, Yahweh, thy most high, will hold thy right hand. See, I'm going to uphold thee by what? The right hand of my righteousness. See, I'm holding up my right hand. It might appear in the video as my left hand. This is my right hand. He's going to hold us up by the right hand of his righteousness. That's his spirit. See what I'm saying? That's the most important thing. Saying unto thee, fear not, I will help thee. Fear not, thou worm Jacob. He rightly describes us. He said, fear not, thou worm Jacob, and ye men of Israel. Why does he say men? Again, who's being destroyed? Who does Asatan hate but the Hebrew male? Fear not, thou worm Jacob, and ye men of Israel. I will help thee, saith Yahweh, and thy Redeemer, the Holy One of Israel. That's Messiah. Remember, I just wanted to remind you, Messiah is a black male. I just want to remind you, Messiah, who the people call Jesus, he's a black male. I just want y'all to understand that. He is a black male. He's not blackmailing, but he is a black, M-A-L-E. He is a black male. I just need y'all to understand that. He says, I will help thee, saith Yahweh, you men of Israel. Saith Yahweh, thy Redeemer, the Holy One of Israel. Yes. Yes. For behold, I will make thee a new sharp threshing instrument having teeth. Y'all, he's turning this thing around. The heathen gonna have a problem. Thou shalt thresh the mountains and beat them small, and shalt make the hills as chaff. Thou shalt fan them, and the wind shall carry them away. The whirlwind shall scatter them, and thou shalt rejoice in Yahweh, and shalt glory in the Holy One of Israel. That's why he's called the Lord our righteousness, Yahweh Sadak. We're going to rejoice in him because in him, the Bible says in Isaiah 45, we're not yet there, you're there yet, but it says, in Yahweh shall all the seed of Israel be justified and shall glory. Woo! That's what we got coming. See what's important, brothers and sisters? Let's focus on what's important, okay? When the poor and needy seek water, and there is none, and their tongue faileth for thirst, I, Yahweh, will heal them. Hear them. I, the Most High of Israel, will not forsake them. See, people call us forsaken. Byword, niggas, right? Coons, porch monkeys, right? Then you better watch for Messiah because he looked like us. You better watch out. Messiah looks like us, and he's coming to help us. All he's waiting for is his Father's Spirit to be resting upon us. That's all he's waiting for. And when it's completed, there's going to be a problem among those that oppressed us. They're going to have a problem. And I'm saying to you, that process is well underway. It's advancing. That's the exciting part. I'm not talking about something that's just happening in the future. It's happening now. He's already placing his Spirit on us. Why do you think I'm even teaching you? And I'm not the only one. Why do you think it's even coming out of my lips? It's not because I'm smart, that's for sure. It's because of his Spirit. Not by might nor by power, but by my Spirit, saith Yahweh of hosts. He's doing it. He's doing it to Hebrews all over, scattered, and here a little and there a little. It's the awakening has already begun. Our enemies feel it. They can feel it. That's why they're angry. That's why they're getting agitated. They want to do something about it because they used to being in control. But you cannot control Father's Spirit. You cannot. You cannot. You can't control his word. When he speaks the word, it's going to come to pass. It will prosper in the thing whereby he sent it. You understand? It's going to come. He said, when I speak my word, it's going to come to pass. It's not going to return void. And the word has been spoken from before the foundation of the earth. Like I said, brothers and sisters, Father speaks a word before we exist. Listen, this is not unusual for him, but we just don't understand this. I'm gonna stop on this here and take a break, okay? But I need to end it with this here. Father speaks a word before we exist, and all the universe works to fulfill that word once it's spoken. All he has to do is speak. And when he speaks, the universe, all the elements of the universe on earth and in heaven and under the earth, they work in order to fulfill that word. And he has spoken the word. I'm going to seal my servants. He has spoken the word. I'm going to turn your oppression. He has spoken the word. The nations were angry. In the time of the dead, they should be judged. And I'm going to destroy them, which destroy the earth. He has spoken the word. I'm going to break the yoke off your neck. He has spoken the word. It's going to come to pass. The only question is, are we going to let Asatan cause us to sell out? We're going to be distracted by things that don't matter? We're going to be worried about having fellowship because we're lonely? Seriously? Keep your eyes on what's important, man. Focus. We're going to take a break. It's 12:36. I'm going to come back in 14 minutes, 12:50. I'm going to come back in 14 minutes. I'm going to take a break. I'm going to reopen YouTube on another video.